Greetings. If you don't know who I am, yeah, of course. If you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Tinkmeyer. I used to write for Pathos, a column called No Longer Quivering. I wrote it every single day for 10 long years, just over 10 years. And I learned a little bit about what it takes to deconvert and all these other things that I'm going to talk about today. Let me just say first, do not bully anybody I talk about here today. And Well, take care of yourself. Think about these things that I've talked about, whether or not they can be helpful in your life. These are my opinions based on a lifetime of dealing with this very subject. So it's been some interesting times. One of the things in the last couple of years that I've learned and learned hard is that I'm retired now, I'm older. I'm not writing every single day. I'm working on my stupid book that's taken forever. And because I've taken it apart twice and one time lost the transcript anyway. One of the things that I struggle with the hardest with being online is the issues where people contact you and they want you to take care of their problems. They want to tell you their story. I used to be really down for that. Hey, Iris, Jane. I used to be really down for that, but I don't do that anymore. I just give them the standard little paragraph and move, breathe in, breathe out, move on. And one of the things that I've learned is it's really made a lot of people mad. So I just want to start my piece today by talking about that a little bit before I move on to the main topic. No one owes you space to do your um, deconversion. Nobody owes you the time that it will take for you to dump out all your trauma and your issues about what happened to you at church. Now, that's usually when I refer people back to mental health in their area, be it a Christian counselor, be it a social worker, counseling service, simply their own church. And most of the time, you're better off going to a church that is your standard Christian. We left and went to the Methodist church for 10 years, and that was the right thing for us to do. Maybe different for everybody. I don't recommend going into counseling where you went to church and got initially injured at, emotionally injured, you picked up PTSD or complex PTSD because the things that happened to you there. It's better if you go somewhere else for counseling. You were raised Methodist. My husband was too. That's why we ended up at the Methodist church. I was raised Episcopal and Catholic, and I've gone back to both since. If I'm in Louisiana, I'm at the Catholic Church with my family. If I'm elsewhere, I may be at the Episcopal Church. Just really depends upon where I am and what I know the churches are like. But the Methodist Church was a nice soft landing place for us to land when we started deconstructing our journeys. And what do I mean by deconstruction? Deconstruction is when, well, you don't even necessarily have to leave your old faith group. You don't have to necessarily leave your taco type church or totalitarian authoritative church organization to start with your deconstruction. Sometimes all it takes is a little tiny pulled hidden thread. I've had that happen. I had that happen to myself because of some things that happened. And I started looking at deconstruction. I started looking at what it was I actually believed and how it was different than everybody up there. So before I had even left, I'd already started my deconversion from that particular flavor of Kool-Aid. I'm just gonna call it what it was because it was. And it was kind of funny because the place I went was all lapsed Catholics playing games, and, we all had that in common mostly. So everybody always asks me, "What was the thing that made you turn first?" Yoga. Why yoga? Well, when I was a young, much thinner, much more flexible woman, I was married previously for a very short period of time, and I had a child by the man. And one of the things I would do every afternoon is I would put her in the swing, and I would do 20 minutes of yoga with Lilias, yoga and you. So that was something I did every day. It was my way to decompress. And I don't remember there being demonic chanting or any of that going on during Lilias yoga and you. I bought her book shortly thereafter, and she even dedicated the book at the beginning to Jesus Christ and talked about her faith. So I never thought it was some kind of evil thing. Now we had to do, and I should probably pull it out, a oh gosh, when you save everything that you can, lab test. Ah, here we go, memories. Um, we were doing a Bible study and we're filling these out. Goes along with a book that is written by Neil T. Anderson called The Bondage Breakers. Okay. And if you go back and you look through here, this silly thing, there are all kinds of things you have to renounce. Oh, there's oodles, a list of crap you got to renounce. Greediness, laziness, criticizing, lust, cheating, gossiping. There's all kinds of crap that you have to say, "Oh, I renounce that." And that's okay. If you feel like that's something that is harming you, then go ahead and renounce that. Go ahead and renounce that. But here was the one that just made me hoot with laughter. Non-Christian spiritual experience inventory. Okay, this isn't even mine. This is what my husband filled out, so I won't show you all of his stuff. But it was some silly stuff, um, like Ouija boards. Who hasn't played with a Ouija board as a kid? Speaking in trance, materialization, spirit guides, astrology, Church of Living Word, Mormonism, the Unification Church, the Way International. I thought they were Christian. Maybe not. Jehovah's Witnesses, Unitarianism, Masons, New Age, the Forum. Goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And one of the things on this list right here is, and it's my husband check it, is yoga. So we're doing these things, and I was thinking about yoga because I'd done yoga for a long time. And I wasn't doing yoga anymore, but I had been thinking about going back to that at that point. So we were filling these things out in church and talking about them. Raised my hand like this and said, "Why is yoga on this list?" My pastor didn't even have time to react. What happened was there was another dude that jumped in and started telling me that yoga was chanting demon names and just all kinds of stuff. And I was like, "What?" And he said it was also because the pants you have to wear when you're doing yoga pants, and how they cup your rear end, they cup your front if you're a lady, and that makes men look at your crotch and your butt cheeks and stray into the sin of lust. So at that point, I didn't argue with the guy, just meekly went back to my seat and shut the heck up, thinking, yeah, he's full of baloney because Lilias yoga and you was nothing about chanting demons' names. Shoot, I didn't even always wear yoga pants when I was doing it. Back in the 70s, I don't even think we had yoga pants. Was this back in the 70s, early 80s? Yes, it was. I was doing yoga. This was like 77, 78. And that's when I was really heavily doing it a lot because I was married to a not a very good man. I'm just going to say that. And I was struggling with a bad marriage, a little tiny baby, the fact that I was not yet 20, and there was a lot going on. So there's a lot of things going on. All, you know, one of my few escapes was my half hour practice first thing in the morning and in the afternoon, Lilias yoga and you. And I always did that when my baby was sleeping. taking a nap usually or sitting in the swing. So it wasn't like I was neglecting her and I was doing something important for myself, something I needed to do. So I couldn't think of it in a negative way, but at the same time, this guy was just so sure, and I was just like, I am not going to fight with this dude at all. But I look back on it, and that time was my, yeah, back in the satanic panic mind frame. And I just said to myself, no, that is not right. He's wrong. I'm not going to argue with him about it, but he is clearly wrong. Because for me, that was a vital escape valve every single day that I was able to do twice a day sometimes to get out of myself and to put the terrible stress I was under aside and do something positive for me. So for me, this was a good thing. So when they started saying that, that was the first moment in which the thread was pulled away. Like if you were embroidering something and you pulled a piece of thread away, something harmless, you would think. And ugh, what that was. So at the end of the day, more threads started fraying and coming out, but that was the first one. That was the first moment I started to start my deconstruction journey. And I've been on it a long time now. It's been 18 years since I left my old church. I think it's been about that, maybe a little less. And it's been quite the journey. The 10 years that I was writing for Pathos were some of the best at helping me work through my own issues while I was helping other people work through their issues. And I was still seeing a therapist at that point. And I have to say, if you are in your deconstruction journey, seeing a therapist is one of the most important things you can do. That is a person that is going to help you sort through your thoughts and figure out what it is you actually are thinking. For me, that person was a very nice lady who I'm still in contact with, who, when I was beating myself up about stuff, would tell me that those things weren't as black and white as I thought they were. And that's really what I needed to hear at that time because even though I was leaving for good reasons, I still had quite a lot of guilt connected to it. I still had tremendous guilt, shame. Of course, they want you to feel shame. So while you're feeling guilt and shame and all that, you're not so much deconverting, decompressing, or deconstructing. You're off like this, hugging yourself so that pain will stop. And hugging yourself is not how you're going to get your pain to stop. It's a temporary state. If you can get past a temporary, I'm hugging myself and I'm vomiting out everything in trauma dumping on somebody else. If you can get past that stage, and that is the stage that most people get stuck in, who are going to be stuck. And that is very important. You have to make an effort to move on. Even if you have to sit down with a notebook and write down every single day your story, do it. You'll feel all the better for it. It will help you with your deconstruction version. What'll happen is you'll start stripping away the things that you knew in your heart of heart all along probably weren't true, or maybe you didn't know and you're starting to wake up to the fact that that's not what the Bible says. It's not what Jesus said. This is what all these other people clobbered on there. And that takes time to disentangle, to use Ginger Duggar's favorite word. She's not deconstructing, she's disentangling, detangling what's going on. Girl, no, you have flipped from IBLP into a very hot skillet called John MacArthur, who's no better and comes with his own baggage. I pray that Ginger's deconstruction journey takes her away from John Author in Los Angeles to do what it is she needs to do to transact business. And at some point in your journey, what you have to do is gain enough perspective to not end up in another CULT church. And it's easier than you think to find yourself flipping into another church like that. I've had that happen to me. this last church, hey, number one fan that I went to, I saw potential for that too, but I was just like, no. The first church we went to here in Costa Rica was not like that. But when they ran the pastor off and they started doing their own thing, they started turning that way again. And I was able to see at least that this was happening and get the heck out of Dodge. I did it too late. I should have done it earlier. But that's true of my initial leaving my toxic taco church the first time too. So don't be afraid to go around and look at different things and question. Question when somebody tries to tell you their church is away and they're getting you to go there. Question that. Ask a lot of questions. There is nothing wrong with asking questions. Something Jesus himself, one of his techniques that I learned, and that's a very helpful one if you're going through deconstruction, because you're going to have people that you went to church with or who are church adjacent are going to run up to you in the street and go, I heard you're a state now. How can you let that happen? Who told you that? Well, it was Wally over there said that you were. I said, why would Wally say that? I've always got one with Wally. Hmm. Um, I miss just the country church I went to. Iris, so do I. I miss how simple it was at the beginning. I miss all of that badly. So why would Wally say that? Well, I don't know. I think he heard it when he heard from so and so. So I you just keep asking questions. Every time they make a statement and blurt it out and ask you a question, you're going to take it, you're going to turn it around, and you're going to say, oh, why would that be? I guarantee you within 20 questions, the person's going to shut the heck up because they're going to realize pretty quickly that you think that they're foolish and gossipy. So they're going to shut up. It's a good way to do it when you're dealing with people from your old religious community who are asking you 50,000 trillion questions. I will admit that since my thalamic stroke, I'm a whole lot less nice. Okay. That's another reason why I cut off talking to trauma dumpers because I'm not ready for NLQ anymore. I only have so many spoons in a day, and I can't waste my spoons on people that I don't know. I don't love. People aren't my group. So you have to decide when you're going through these deconstruction things, how much time you're willing to give these people, how much time you're willing to give those that are still talking trash about you, that are running up to you and saying these things. How much space in your real life you're going to give them? I found zero is the answer. Zero is the right answer. You aren't rude, you aren't ugly, you just question them until they shut the heck up. You just do the Jesus. And the thing with deconstruction is eventually you do have to construct what it is you believe and what it looks like. And it's going to look different for everybody. It's going to look different for you. It's going to look different for me. And that's okay. Like you said, Ira Straight, I miss my old church. I miss the old country, sweet church where they just looked at the Bible. I miss that. And I don't miss what it turned into before the end when they were following Bethel and the big church in Australia that does all the songs. I can't even think of the name. Hillsong, Bethel, all of that. When they started that, pursuing those things, I had a real problem with it, a real problem. So anywhere in your deconstruction journey, if you find yourself in a place that you're starting to have questions about and there's no one answering your questions, you are feel perfectly free to skedaddle your rear end on out of there to somewhere a lot better. That's really the best advice I can give you. To construct what it is you believe. Don't let any of these people stop you from that. Because, I mean, even if you don't believe a thing, personally, I believe those are not churches. They aren't. I think when you get to that point, you're turned into the CULT that YouTube won't let me say that word. Okay. I think you turn into that when you start doing that. When it becomes the whole cult of personality, because We went through some terrible stuff before we left our old church between the time that I'm talking about with the yoga and the time we left. And one of the worst, I think, was when we got sent away for what do they call it? A deliverance weekend at a church run by a guy who was all cult of personality out of Wilmington, North Carolina. And I've talked to that guy a lot in the past. Brilliant guy, very smart, very, but he had spun off to his own little CULT. He's still running it as a CULT. They're still doing deliverance ministry. They've been sued a pile of times, so they've had to change the church of the name and the deliverance ministry. They've had to um, keep changing. So I got drug off on Thanksgiving weekend against my own will to go to this deliverance ministry thing. The church set it up. They didn't tell me anything. Nobody told me anything except for my husband on Thanksgiving morning when he said, pack a bag for the kids, pack one for yourself. The kids are going to stay with their older sister for the weekend, and you and I are going to Wilmington, North Carolina for this deliverance ministry. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. It's kind of CULT brainwashing you could expect. I kind of was sitting there like this, and they kept me 3 hours because I was not cooperative at all. Oh, let me grab the notes they gave us because the notes were just really sheerly awful what they said to us and about us. And they told me that my husband was committing adultery. They told my husband he was committing adultery. Neither of us were committing adultery at all. Um, they told me that I was caged, dealing with frustration and control, and I couldn't forgive anybody. Let's see. Go to peace, not to pieces. A cliched. Said I need to take more vacations. I'm always down with that. Um, they said I carry too much on my shoulders and I wear too many hats. Well, that's true. But most of this was crap like secret hidden things. First child born equals with the husband manifested. It was a mosaic picture. And they said that I had the tendency to do instant replay in my mind. Well, they're right about that at least. I had a tendency to do that. I still do. And I think we all do. Because why do I think that? Because how many times have you like run up against somebody and they've said something vile or done something vile, and you're like later thinking, I should have said X, Y, Z. I should have broken my foot off in the rear end. We all have those thoughts. And to say that it's obsessive and that it's harming you is not right or true. I think a lot of us overthink. It's just our personalities, and it's just the way it is. Now, for my husband, they said that he loved Star Wars and fishing. And let me tell you, he does not like either one. I don't know why, but he doesn't. He doesn't love them. He's never committed adultery. He doesn't run around with infidelity and pornography like it says on this list. Somebody was having an affair with somebody named Wally. Okay. And some of this is just absolutely absurdist. And the thing is, you know how they came up with this? You think they came up with these things by talking to us? Oh, hell no. They came up with these things by praying for us at 3 in the morning. And then God told them this stuff. So all I can say is somebody's God tuner isn't properly calibrated. So we had already been married quite a while at that point, and I knew he wasn't committing adultery. I knew damn good well I wasn't committing adultery, maybe in my sleep or something. I just knew it was a bunch of nonsense. They kept him 9.5 hours. Only recently did he tell me what it was. He said that they would not let him go until he renounced all this crap. So he finally realized he had to say the stuff to get the heck away from those guys, and he did. And all I know is he came back smiling and just wanting to hug me. And I think about this a lot because, hey, Lulu B, I think about this a lot because if we had not known each other as well as we did, if we had not been older when we got married, we might have believed this crap. Can you imagine a new marriage? Somebody is like married 2 or 3 years, and somebody hears this that their husband is cheating on them, and the husband's told that they are cheating on them. What that would do? It would devastate people. So for me, that was another one of those big knocks on my journey to deconstruction. And I wrote an open letter to the pastor of that church, and I published at Pathos, and I haven't heard anything back ever. I haven't even gotten any pushback at all. That's pretty amazing because I accused them of some pretty strong things, and you're hearing me read these stupid notes. So what they're doing is they're playing with people's lives. They're playing with their psyches. And they're not psychiatrists. They aren't anything like counselors. They're just making wild guesses in the dark while pretending that God is telling them this stuff. That is the stuff that will crush you. That is the stuff that will ruin your life. And so that's another reason why I'm bitterly opposed to people doing this kind of thing because it has such awful long-term consequences and carries on. So that was all along the journey to get me to where I had to go. I've since reconstructed, but since I've reconstructed, I have very tight boundaries now. And I encourage you, I implore you to think about what your boundaries are. If you leave and you start to deconstruct, and you're going to have to through all of these things, you have to think about boundaries, what it will take for you not stay at your stuck where you are in whatever church or belief system it is. You have to make peace with the fact that you're going to lose your entire friend group at your old place. You just will. Sad to say, and they will start talking about you and accusing you of all kinds of crazy stuff. Just don't be surprised when it happens. I hope that that doesn't happen for people, but I know, like for me, it did happen. I lost all my friends, save one who I'm still real good friends with. And that can be hard, particularly if you're a stay-at-home mother and your circle is small and you're doing all the stuff they're telling you should only have fellowship with other believers, but believers of your type of Kool-Aid flavor. And they will tell you that and stick you in those things. Okay, I am going to go. Y'all have a great day. I'll see everybody later. And remember, you don't have to stay stuck. It just takes a while. You just got to have to do the work and get out. Breathe in, breathe out, move on. Love you guys.